Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 19th day of March, 2019. Well, 9 and 1 is 10, so that reduces to 1, so it's new beginnings then for today. Yesterday was completion with a 9. So today we move into new beginnings. So maybe you're going to start something new today, huh? Well, if this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. Click subscribe if you like. I'd love you to do that. So how this works, if you've never been here before, is I ultimately draw 3 cards, usually anyway, and I do it one at a time, though. I count and I take the 13th card, and after that, after I'm done doing that, then I pull a rune, and we take a look at how all of that interacts together, how it interacts with the numerology of the day, and how it might influence us for today. I'm really not about predictions. I'll warn you in advance if you've never been here before, I don't care for our president, so occasionally I say things. But, you know, it's either that or you're going to listen to the sound of shuffling. So I figure I can visit a little bit and, you know, sometimes it takes a little longer, you know, especially when something, you know, ridiculous happens that we have to talk about, or I feel compelled to talk about anyway. So rest assured, that kind of stuff's going on in my house all the time, so. But, you know, we had a very difficult thing happen on Friday. We had somebody decided to shoot up 2 mosques and kill a bunch of people, and bunch of people praying and worshiping. It was their day of worship, and so, of course, that's when he decided to go there and do that. And you're watching the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda, and I still can't remember her last name. Something, well, anyway, I'm not going to say it because I'll butcher it, but I don't want to do that. What an amazing woman. What I mean, a heartfelt response the whole way with her. She's amazing. It's the kind of leader that we all hope for in this country. And I think we had last time. Might have had this time, but that didn't happen. And we got what we have. And you know what she asked him to do? Because he said, "What can I do for you?" Like he would do anything. Just think Puerto Rico, and you'll know. She said to, you know, send best wishes to and love and all of that to all Muslim communities in the world, as he tries to ban Muslims from entering our country and to make everyone who is Muslim leave. So I don't support that. So anyhow, let's get started. All are welcome. Well, we have the Page of Pentacles. So on this day of something new, we see undeveloped potential. We see he's standing there. It looks like things are just starting to grow. So everything is beginning. We have Ostara is tomorrow, or maybe technically it's the 21st, but I think it's celebrated tomorrow. I think we're celebrating tomorrow because tomorrow is the equinox. It's the full moon in Libra, and so today's maiden moon. So excuse me. So, yeah. So I mean, this really aligns with all of that, doesn't it? You could look at it that way. That we're in the maiden phase of the moon today, so we get the Page of Pentacles. But here he is, he's holding up his coin, looking at it, trying to figure out what he's going to do now with it. He's going to embark on something new. Pages are usually youthful characters. It can mean a birth sometimes, depending on what else it's paired with. I still haven't gotten all of this stain out of my fingernails. I finished my wand though, or at least partially. But you can see how it's bent a little bit. I like them because you can hold them better, anyway. But this is a Rowan wand that I did. I'm not done with it. I just got the first stain on it, but at least it's dry enough that I can hold it. But I like the color really well. Anyhow, I still have it in my fingernails though. But anyhow, but you're talking about undeveloped potential. It could be a student, it could be news, it could be, but again, having it align with the numerology for today, then you would think new beginnings, really. Now, also, if you haven't been here before, those of you who have know that if I draw a court card, I do draw another one. I started this whole gathering out, just doing one card and one rune, but if you do tarot, you can't just do that. You have to do more. I don't know. And so I just started drawing more cards, and I don't want to do it though in a way that I don't want to lay three down at once, because I want this to be as random as possible to see just how all of these things really do, these energies really do align. And so anyhow, but the pages, well, not just the pages, any court card, they actually need something to interact with, because you're not just looking at, one particular idea or concept with a court card. You're looking at either the individual itself and what that means. So a page would be a student or a news bearer or somebody who's youthful or whatever. Or then you're looking at also the qualities of that person. So maybe, Pentacles is earth element. So maybe you're looking at someone who's practical, maybe studious, so maybe this is more the card of the student. Although, the page of swords would be as well, because that's the air element and intellect. So we just got back from our walk. We do 4 miles in the morning, and I like to do it before I get started on anything. So unfortunately, we're in that phase now of the year where I'll be doing these a little bit later. They'll get posted a little bit later in the day, because I have to do the walk early in the morning. Only it's like about an hour and a half when we do it. Maybe not quite that long, but maybe more like an hour. But it takes a while, and so then I have to get back and do things. And so I try to do this first before I get out with the gardens. But sometimes if we can leave even earlier, when spring and summer gets here, we're going to have to leave even earlier, real early in the morning to do it, because I have to get watering done, and before it gets too hot. And so right now we're kind of in that transition phase in the spring where we're able to get out but then that I have to figure out when I'm going to do the video. So yeah, such is life. But we just got back. So anyhow, so I'm thirsty. I'm parched. Even though we take water with us, I don't like to drink too much. What if you have to go to the bathroom and there's nowhere to go, right? So I try to limit it, but then I get home and I'm dying. So yeah, I'll be drinking a little bit today while we're doing this. Anyhow, let's draw another card and see what the page can interact with. I take the 13th card. I was born on the 13th, and I was born in 1957. And although numerologically, not going to say that one today very well, I guess, it reduces to 4, 13 does. I never do. I call it the master witch number, mainly because I'm a witch. But I was born on the 13th, but I was born in 1957, which reduces to 13. So 10, 13, 13, right? So I just decided that whenever, and I've always done this, that whenever I'm just going to draw one card, or I do this sometimes on the outcome ones, and I usually do this particularly when I use the Thoth deck, but I don't know why, but it's like the very last card, I want it to be the witchiest one possible. So you would either think 7 or you would think 13, right? Well, I do 13 because I was born on the 13th, and my year is a 13. So I just do that. Anyhow, whenever I draw just a single card, I'll take the 13th, or the outcome, I'll take the 13th card, if I really, really want to make it random. So, well, here we have the 7 of Cups. Now, traditionally, you see a lot of different things. They're all sitting in the clouds, lots of different things in them. You see a head in one. I'm not sure what that other thing is there. Looks like maybe, I'm not even sure what that thing is in the middle. There's a snake. There's a wreath. Looks like there's some jewels and maybe some flowers in one. It looks like there's a tower, a castle tower on the other. I'm not sure what that thing is there in the middle, though. I wonder if I can see it with a magnifying glass. It might be a hat. I mean, they wore weird hats back then, you know? I'll bet that's a hat. I think the little guy on the right is a griffon, a magical creature, elemental, maybe. But the idea behind the seven of, and I don't agree with it, mind you, but this is your heads in the clouds. You know, you're dreaming. You're not realistic. But I don't see it that way. You know, first of all, sevens to me are about balance. They're about balance. They're about the resting point. They're about observation, weighing things out. You've got, if you were to depict it, I depict it as the scale. So you've got 3, 3, and 1, which is 7. So it would definitely depict the scale. So in the middle, the 4 position you would have as the resting point. Now, when you look at the cosmic rays, the 7 cosmic rays, the 4th ray of harmony through conflict, that's the same thing. It's also known as the resting point. I view it as an observation point. So in a sense, that's what this guy's doing. He's looking, he's observing all of this. But sometimes, because it's a card of emotion, it's thought to be, you know, one where you're just, you know, you're not realistic. Well, I don't agree with that. I don't know how does innovation start if it's not this? Okay. So I don't, and I know not everybody interprets it that way, but I've seen enough of it. And I just have never, it's just one of those things that has never resonated. You know, I don't see it that way. I look at the 7 of Cups as opportunities that you're thinking about, that you're dreaming about, that you're exploring. You're not limiting yourself. You're open to change. You're open to new experiences. And that's what the Page of Pentacles is asking us to do, to be open to new experiences. In this case, having to do with the more, you know, security or mundane or wealth or issues in life having to do with all of that are basically what Pentacles is about, is our physical presence in the world. So it has to do with our security, our financial security, our, you know, just the structure of our lives, basically. So if you don't dream new things, how do you add to that? So I think that I'm just not somebody that sees it that way, but let's do a third card and see what else we can add to here. So far what we have is we have the Page who's you know, thinking about what he wants to do with his life, basically, and how does he want to manifest his legacy going forward. You know, he maybe he's already graduated from his education and he's ready to strike out on his own. Typically that's more like the Knight in a way, but that character is a little bit more established than the Page. But it could just be that he's really just embarking on something brand new, or there's something new, or it's a message that something new is about to happen in our lives that's going to have to do with our financial security, you know, or something about our physical presence in life. And the 7 of Cups is just giving us some opportunities and things to think about. So the 7 could be contained in that pentacle that he's holding, you see. Maybe all of those thoughts have gelled into something. And so this is what came then before, you know, the Page, maybe. Well, here we have the Hierophant, and that's a card from the Major Arcana. It's the 5th card, and it's change. 5 is change. You see the 2 adepts down below him, or the 2 monks down below him. You see a series of threes. You see in the crown, he's got a three-tiered crown. In this case, the crown is symbolizing spirit and connection to spirit. You see triple aspects. You see him holding up. Is it one? How many? Is it one finger? What is that? Nope, he's got two fingers and a thumb pointing upward. The other two fingers are down. So I guess you could count that as a three, unless you want to count that as two. And then the staff with the three elements on it, then that would add up to five. So there you'd have a five, unless you want to just count the hand as the thumb and the two fingers as three. So there you would have some synchronicity there. Three, three, and three. The threes on each hand, that the staff over here being the three, the fingers being the three, and the three-tiered crown being the three. You see the pillars he sits between. Whatever, I'm not Christian, so I don't know the names of some of the stuff on there on a, because basically you're talking about the Pope here. I mean, essentially. In fact, some of the older decks call it I think Il Papa or something, instead of the Hierophant, I believe. Anyway, so I don't know what some of the raiments are or what they're called, but the white thing that does this, whatever that's called, you also have three there. You can see that. And you also have three, what looks like, I can't tell if they're mine, but it could be what's on it could be the tip of his staff. No, they're crosses. Never mind. And then you see a diamond below, but then now you see on his shoes, you see crosses. You see the cross keys, or the keys of wisdom. This is a really Kabbalistic card. Very hermetic. There was something I wrote down though in here in the grimoire about it that I want to look at, because I was doing some reading about tarot symbolism the other day, and I was it's an interesting book. I'll have to get the name of it and tell you about it. Excuse me, but it sort of looks at it'll look at like a series of cards together, and kind of show how they, because they contain some of the same symbolism, and so he'll talk about how it is with each card and all this. It's really interesting. But I wrote something down here. I don't know if it was on this or something else. But here you have, of course, the enlightened teacher, you have free choice, you have the mastery of three worlds of knowledge, tradition, and structure. But basically, you're looking at, unfortunately, it also means it can mean a reliance on religious structure, because that's really what you see here. You see the Hierophant above, and the two monks or adepts below. And so there's a hierarchy, isn't there? He also represents the Holy Guardian Angel and the transmission of hidden knowledge. So it's basically it's basically the higher self. I mean, if you want to get out of the patriarchal structure of it, which I try to always do, it's having to make a decision, but from the higher self perspective. Invoking change, but from the sense of higher self. Not from, some religious hierarchy, but actually your own religious hierarchy, which is your higher self. So, and you could look at this card really as a card of balance. You could look at it as the two adepts in front. You could look at that as polarity, and having higher self inform the dual nature of self. So in that sense, if you were to break it down, the as above, so below aspect of it, you think two things, right? Well, in fact, that's not so. In fact, you have spirit informing the dual sense of the ego, okay? The masculine, feminine side of self, the projective, receptive side of self. So in a sense, spirit is having to inform two aspects of the lower self. So that might be another way to look at it. So then we need to then embrace change, I guess, is what this is trying to tell us, and new opportunities, and basically allow for all possibilities. Don't limit yourself. That's the other thing about the Seven of Cups. It's you've got an awful lot of things to choose from, so nobody's limiting you. I mean, it's the whole notion of the sky's the limit here. So then we take all of that, all of the skill, all of the knowledge, all of the awareness, and then we put it into the Page of Pentacles, where we embark upon something new. Let's look at a rune and see what it has to say. I think that, I used to say this to my kids. I'm sure it drove them nuts, but, every day you can decide who you want to be when you get up in the morning. You can always decide something else. So if you're struggling, if you're unhappy the day before, if you're, maybe feeling out of sorts, you're not communicating well with someone else, you're having a hard time, you can always get up the next day and say, you know what, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to maybe, if I'm having trouble communicating with somebody, I'm going to take a step back, maybe try to say less. Maybe I'm saying too much, and it's sort of keeping things less clear. Sometimes we oversay things. We say too much in something, and we make it too complicated for people. There's all kinds of ways that you can rethink things and start your day, right? And Perthro is the rune. And again, this is a water element rune. Numerologically, I did it that time, see? If I don't think about it. It's like, oh no, don't fear the word. Anyway, and then you can say it. Anyway, Perthro is about the unknown. It's about fate. It's the cup from which the runes are tossed or cast. It can be the well. It can be a cauldron. Open this way, it denotes birth. This way, possibly death, or beginnings and endings. I'm not really into the whole directionality of it, though, unless I'm using it in a bind rune. But I just consider all aspects of something. I don't do reversals in cards or anything like that, or in runes either. I just consider all of the aspects either way. I think it's easier. I think it gives just a better picture of it. Because you never know. But that's Perthro. It's basically the rune of fate. And but it sort of implies that we're not in charge of things, doesn't it? Well, I turned right to it. Well, anyway, so we have change, which aligns this is 5, so it aligns with the Hierophant, which is a 5. We have new beginnings with the Page. Perthro can also indicate the womb or birth. So, I mean, you could be experiencing that in your life, or maybe someone's about to tell you, hey, I'm pregnant, Maybe another child's going to be born in your family. This could be that, because, you've got new possibilities, right? But initially, what Perthro was when it dealt with fate, it was essentially about the power of the Norns to decide men's fate. Well, again, it doesn't take into account who we actually are. And who we are as source energy, as the creator manifested into form, we decide our own fate. So, and do we do that before we incarnate? I mean, as you might think to yourself, well, I didn't decide to do that. Well, how do you know? How do you know you didn't do it before you decided to come into form? There's a school of thought that believes that we make these decisions before we ever incarnate. The soul does. You get into these soul contracts with people, and you decide who your family is going to be. And I don't think you necessarily decide everything, but I think that the the overall theme that we come into life with. So if we have a really difficult childhood, odds are we chose that. We either chose it for ourselves to experience, or we chose to be in some soul contract with someone else in our family, maybe. Maybe that's what they wanted to experience, and we're just helping out. And so instead, we feel burdened, when instead we should just enjoy the ride. And it's difficult to understand that, because once we get here, it's not a fun ride. And so instead of just doing things dispassionately the way the soul would, the minute we come into form, we're just emotional basket cases, and we're upset about this and we're upset about that and everything else. And if we could take a step back and say, well, yes, it's upsetting, but maybe there's a certain part of this that I wanted to experience for some strange reason, or maybe I'm doing it, I'm taking one for the team, and I'm helping someone else out in it. It might help us to attach less to our experiences, is what I'm trying to say. And so, Perth Row, I think really, instead of it being the mystery of fate, I think it's basically challenging us to understand that we are the master of our own fate. So, which makes when you get to this card, the Page of Pentacles, even more interesting, because you want to know, what's he going to do? What's he going to do with his life? How is he going to build his life? What kind of job is he going to get? Where's he going to go to school? Is he going to have a wife? Is he going to have kids? What's he going to do? How many professions is he going to have in his life? Is he just going to have one that he works his entire life at? Or is he going to be interested in a variety of things? So it makes you want to know just exactly how much of this is this kid going to manifest when he goes out? See? The other aspect of Perth Row that I wanted to say, we give away, it's just more about what I was saying, though, about being the master of our own fate. We give away so much to other people, don't we? You made me feel this way. I chose it. Granted, it might be a really messed up thing, right? That sure, you're not going to feel good about, but it's your feeling. You can feel any way you want. You can do anything you want. You can be anything you want. Nobody makes you do anything. Not really. I mean, there might be, sure, if you're in a prison, someone's making you do things. I mean, there's always going to be times where you have to follow orders, right? But in terms of your own fate, we decide that. We decide it. And the Page of Pentacles is just out there deciding his own fate, isn't he? He's got a lot of ideas, a lot of ways to go. But he decides. It's his choice. Working from spirit. He chooses his own fate. Well, that's cool. So maybe you're starting something new today, or you've been thinking about it for a while. You know? Why not? It's your decision. Well, cool. I think that's it then, isn't it? That's pretty cool. I've been really enjoying these readings lately. They all seem to be really gelling together with one another. They seem to be aligning well with the numerology. So I feel like when things like that happen, when you get those synchronicities, it's like the doors are opening, right? You have to look at it that way. You notice the synchronicities in your life. Feel that expansion, because that's what it's there for. It's to tell you, hey, you can do things now. It's okay. Try something new, you know? Anyhow, thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Again, click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. I'm going to finish the last in the Queen series on the blog at Stepping Aside. The blog Stepping Aside, I write that blog too, in addition to this. And it's over at imsteppingaside.com. I've been doing a series on queens, and the last one is the Queen of Wands. And so I'm going to do that probably today or tomorrow. Because of Ostara and the full moon and all that stuff. I got other stuff going, so I'm not sure. I may wait until after that's over to finish that series. But it's been really interesting. I chose 7 different decks to look at. Well, I looked through all my decks, and that's what I came up with. I thought, well, these are. And so basically, I've got traditional and non-traditional, and I just compare the queens, how they look at the queens uh, in all of them, and it's really fascinating. It's almost like, and not entirely, because the ones that look more traditional, more like the Rider Waite that I'm, because there's 2 of them that do that. Um, Even though they have their own way of doing it, maybe one's maybe a little more elegant, one is maybe a little more in your face, maybe. The thing is they all find a way to depict this woman, um, almost showing all of the different aspects. Like one deck will focus on one type of aspect, another. It just kind of seems that way when you're looking at it, but maybe it's just because that's how it is when you compare things. I don't know. Anyhow, it's been fun to do it though, and again, I'm on the last one. I'm just not sure when I'm going to do it in the next few days. Though, if not today, it'll be in the next few days. The lunar transits are up for the next couple of days. They're up. Some more will go up tomorrow. Tuesday, yeah, tomorrow. So Wednesday, I'll do another one. So check that out if you want. And I guess that's it. We'll see you tomorrow. So be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.